Well, absolute dipshits continue to reign supreme in Canadian politics, this time in Alberta, where Premier Danielle Smith is intending to pass anti-trans legislation that is not based on any kind of data, any kind of science, but is based purely on the propaganda that she has been fed, including an obvious lie that I will show you in this video. So first, I want you to get a load of this announcement, how she began announcing. Remember, this is her announcing anti-trans legislation. This is how she starts the video.
I strongly believe that we as a society must support and reach out with kindness and inclusion to those who identify as transgender and work to eliminate the discrimination they often experience in their lives. As Premier of this province, I want every Albertan that identifies as transgender to know I care deeply about you and I accept you as you are.
Are you kidding me? Are you absolutely kidding me? This is the beginning of a video where Smith goes on to announce transgender restrictions, discussing we must reach out with kindness and inclusion and eliminate discrimination. That's why today I'm introducing laws that are pro-discrimination against trans people. So here's some of what she's planning to introduce. A ban on puberty blockers and hormone replacement therapy for those 15 and younger. And on that point, before I get to the next point, this is from Scientific American. These medications are well studied and have been used safely since the late 1980s to pause puberty in adolescents with gender dysphoria. They have been used routinely for even longer in children who enter puberty too early and in adults with a range of other medical conditions. Puberty blockers have been used for decades upon decades, safely. Yet now it's an issue? Why all of a sudden? Isn't it interesting when there is some sort of right-wing hysteria about something in the US, it always boils up to Canada, and these dipshits take it on and use it for their own political gain? Every single time this happens. If you're falling for any of this bullshit, please do some reading. For the love of God, please educate yourself. On the next point here, Smith will require teachers and schools to notify parents and seek parental consent when a person aged 15 and under wants to go by different names and pronouns and restrict trans adults from competing in sports with women. All of this is in complete defiance of all medical associations, including in Alberta, where they are condemning these proposed changes, saying it'll add more strain to the province's mental health care system. This goes to study after study showing the obvious. This shouldn't even need to be said. On mental health outcomes in transgender and non-binary youth receiving gender-affirming care. Guess what? It makes them better. It makes them less depressed. They are happier. There's less chance of self-harm. Obviously, because they get to be themselves. So, I link to all my sources always. Feel free to scrutinize this, read through it. Every single research paper comes to the same conclusion for obvious reasons. When people need healthcare and then you give them that healthcare, guess what? They get better. This is not surprising in any way. Yet, Danielle Smith is on the opposite side of this. She wants kids to be depressed. She wants trans youth to be depressed. She wants higher rates of youth depression, higher rates of self-harm. That is a fact based on the data that we have. It will also, one of her proposed things will also prohibit all gender-affirming surgeries for minors aged 17 and under. This is a complete non-issue. Let me show you why. In 2022, 26. And this number is even less. We'll get to that. 26 Albertans younger than 18 received top surgery, and in 2023, 23 Albertans younger than 18 received top surgery. Alberta Health does not even track whether these surgeries are related to gender identity or if they're for medical reasons, such as cancer or breast reduction due to pain, which is much more likely. Yet, regardless, this barely registers. There's all of this hysteria, all of these new policies, this whole announcement, all because of 23 people. 23 people. And in fact, less, because again, many of those were likely due to other reasons. And by the way, bottom surgery is already banned for those under 18. So that also is a complete non-issue. Going again to showcasing how these right-wing freaks take a complete non-issues and make them into this big political spectacle for their own political gain. every single time. And morons fall for it, including this moron. So this is what she says. This is amazing. Premier Smith says Alberta's gender identity policies are based on a concern about what will happen. Concern about what will happen. Like this.
I've been watching as well some of the incidents that have happened in sport. I just saw a video making the round about a rugby game where one woman was just picked up and pile drive by a much stronger transgender female athlete.
Oh, that sounds frightening. I guess it was this story she was talking about here. This made the rounds late January. So it lines up with Danielle Smith discussing this. Women need to start refusing to play when a trans player is on the field. It's only a matter of time before a woman gets killed from this. And there's a video of the very thing happening. A rugby player being slammed to the ground. This is not a trans athlete. In fact, that tweet no longer exists. That's why I'm showing you a screenshot, because it was corrected by Twitter. The one thing Twitter does well is the Twitter notes where they correct misinformation. The person deleted the tweet because they got embarrassed, because they got fooled. The problem here is that it's not a man or a transgender woman. It is Joanne Lagona, a fullback with the PNG national team. So international rugby, by the way, the International Rugby League bans transgender women from international competition. Danielle Smith, the Premier of Alberta, was fooled by fake right-wing propaganda and is basing policy, at least partially, on the propaganda like this that she is fed, the complete lies that she is fed. And if you want more on that, by the way, here's the breakdown of the story. It is just amazing that morons like this, absolute morons, are in positions of power. And why am I even saying it like I'm surprised? Of course they are. Of course they are. But just the level of stupidity, I suppose, is what just takes me by surprise. The fact that you are fooled by a tweet you saw, didn't look into it at all. Idiot. Also, some supporting information here. Biggest ever survey of trans Americans finds 94% are happier after transition. This just came out today. Obviously, like, all of this is obvious. It's good to have the supporting data because it's obvious. When you allow people to be who they are, guess what? They're happier. Shocking. And as Lance of the Surfs points out on Twitter here, for comparison, people who get knee surgery can report dissatisfaction at rates as high as 30%, but there's no one protesting outside of their doctor's offices. Exactly. Like, go and take a look at satisfaction versus dissatisfaction on various surgeries. The rates are much worse for other surgeries, like knee surgery. Yet, is there massive hysteria around knee surgeries? Oh, we should ban all knee surgeries because 30% of people are not happy with their knee surgery. Oh, we got to ban it all. It's unbelievable. Few last things here. This clown, Pierre Poilievre, the conservative leader in Canada, is of course defending Danielle Smith. Check out this clip.
Trudeau has not given a single example of any of the policies that Premier Smith has brought forward that he individually disagrees with, because he doesn't want to be specific about it. And that's because he and you want to peddle in disinformation in order to demonize Premier Smith and parents.
Yes, we are very concerned about disinformation. Like that trans athlete that slammed that woman to the ground, that was very dangerous. We can't have any trans athletes on the field like that. Oh, wait, she wasn't trans? Oh, I'm a moron. Why do all these dipshits sound exactly the same? You know, Pierre Poilievre, Ben Shapiro, they got the same voice. What's going on there? It's bizarre. But man, what an absolute loser. Right now, Pierre Poilievre is doing fairly well in polling. And I think I have to imagine, a large piece of that is because of how dissatisfied people are with Justin Trudeau and the Liberals for various reasons. But when they begin to see more of Pierre Poilievre, I mean, come on. You're going to support this fucking loser? All right, I'm just saying. There's other options out there. You don't got to support Trudeau. But just amazing. What a absolute clown. So luckily there are there's protests. People are fighting against this. Again, this has not been passed yet. These are proposals for the fall. So there is time to push back, and there's a lot of pushback on this, whether it's medical associations, like I showed you, whether it's protesters out in the street. It's this would not help any. Like, this will just, if this actually went through, this will hurt Danielle Smith politically. You know, because clearly she doesn't care about people. That's obvious. But she will care about her own numbers. When rates of self-harm begin to increase, again, if these things are passed, and that is squarely on the premier and her ministers. So I would hope there is some changes that will be made here before this goes any further. Because again, we are talking about a small sliver of society that face ongoing discrimination. To base entire policy proposals, to base entire, political discussions around a small sect of people doesn't make sense in any context. All that she simply has to do is listen to the professionals, listen to the experts in this field, listen to, guess what? Trans people themselves. What makes them happy? What allows them to survive and thrive? Listen to that. Feeding into this right-wing machine with people that already support you is not going to help you in any way.